Welcome back to another episode of Yelena Talks. Today's topic is vulnerability. I hope my voice isn't shaking, but dang, the topic of vulnerability makes me feel so vulnerable, and I'm not even looking at anyone, but the thought of people hearing, oh gosh. No, I don't want to be self-cautious or anything, but I do want to share some of my thoughts and emotions, be vulnerable, a little bit more transparent about things in the hopes that if it touches someone's heart and it speaks to them and it unlocks something amazing and magical in them, then I will do it. I've been kind of debating about this topic of how vulnerable do I get? What boundaries do I have? I'm actually not like the most public person. What do they call that? I'm like a extroverted introvert or something, where I'm like kind of like 50-50, kind of to myself. I have a very small circle of, people, community, friends. I like to get deep, but with, like a person in front of me. I like to do community group stuff, but I'm not going to like stand on the stage and be a clown and be huge. Maybe that's something I got to work on. I don't know, but I'm a little private and reserved by nature. And so believe it or not, if anyone wants to be surprised, or maybe not, prior to me having my business account on Instagram, Yelena Talks, yeah, I didn't really have an Instagram. I remember I loaded it like one time to try to get some updates about some church stuff, and I deleted it because I didn't need it anymore. And even just in general, I don't really post too much, and so I have been stepping out of my comfort zone this last year or so. Let me tell you, I will tell you a little bit about my transformation journey of what's been happening. I realized when I was working as a counselor, and I still have just a few clients left, but in the last, let's say 10 years of that, I have learned inside and out, and still more to learn, so much psychology concepts and understanding humans and why we do what we do in patterns. And I've gained so much insight and info through this process. Like I didn't even know that God would be using it to heal me and change me. And I didn't even think I came from like intense trauma. But now I realize everyone has some, okay? And everyone needs some kind of tuning and growth and healing and whatnot to unleash the fullest of the kingdom. But that's not a miracle thing that happens. Like we have to work on that stuff intentionally. And the more we understand that, the better. And so I remember just like learning things about like attachment stuff, attachment theory. I've talked about it before, what that means, and right maladaptive coping schemas, modes, all of that. What am I afflicted by? What are my personality types, traits, strengths, weaknesses? Whew, my goodness gracious. I really went in and learned so much about me. I've done so much of that inner work, and I just been having some revelations lately. And if you're on here, then you're like the first to know. I realized God's so tricky and sneaky in such a funny way. I realized God's been using this coaching business that I started a couple months ago or this year to really push me out and make me a little bit more public than I ever thought or wanted. I don't even know why I'm laughing. I knew that there are, people who like to learn and listen to the things I share. And I've had lots of feedback about putting myself out there, but I never thought I'd be such a quote unquote public image. Now, please understand me correctly. I'm not talking about being like an influencer with 1.2 million followers, although who knows. But I'm just saying, for me to put my face out there and post photos of myself and have a public account where people can just follow me or just watch me from a distance. People who I don't know comment and look at my business. Yeah, that's a huge change for me. That was never the case. Never. I'm just so reserved and private like that. And it's kind of a funny story, but again, I'm like watching myself transform, honestly, like blossom. Even me having like professional photo shoots Can you guys believe I've never had a photo shoot of me, like a legit one, before the current professional ones I've been doing recently with, again, the most amazing photographer. I've talked about her, but point being, I have never really just dove into myself the way I've been doing now. And the crazy part is, business stuff aside, I am just loving who I am becoming, because I still know that there's so much more abundance I can step into, what it means to be, confident, fulfilled, and I don't know, feminine, womanly, I don't know, whatever you want to call that, beautiful, confident. I'm realizing that is such a beautiful change and experience for me, and God knew. And if God would have told me a while ago, you're going to be like a public person and here's your social media account and everyone's going to see it, I would say, no, thank you. And I would walk away. But luckily, God has this like gentle approach of how he's doing things. And again, I'm realizing the more I'm having the courage to just be myself, be vulnerable, like, here I am, here's what I love, here's what I do, here's, still figuring out those boundaries of how much I want to share and show and keep for myself. But I'm realizing the more I do that for myself and allow myself to experience like the fullness of what it means to be created as a female by God, I'm realizing and I'm watching other women also step into their confidence and their femininity, and as a result experiencing so much joy and fulfillment on the inside. And so the reason I talk about vulnerability is, again, very honest reflection. I've wondered sometimes, even with my counseling job, here's what I like when a client comes into my room, it's like a sacred space. I get to close my door, my office practice, and it is just their grounds, their territory. We go into their heart, their soul. I'm giving this VIP access to go into that, and I honor that, whole process so much. But then I realized to some degree that I can tend and have been in that same capacity reserved and private into myself. And I might still be nice and kind, but if I'm just guarded or scared or, afraid to show myself, then I might come off as, a polite girl, but there's no way I can attract the abundance and people and quality relationships and friends and even a guy if I'm just so, like closed off or just very safe. Let me tell you, love is the opposite of, I don't want to say love is the opposite of safe, but putting yourself out there does it feel safe? You have a brain, you have Holy Spirit to give you wisdom to be, quote unquote safe and have boundaries and be careful and have, self-respect. But I'm just saying love in itself is such a risk, and it's kind of a paradox. It's a risk, but at the same time, you want to have like security, a safe base where you can come back to, you can mess up, you can have good days, bad days, and still be received. So by default, again, it's really hard to attract people who just genuinely love you and choose you for you if you are guarded. Let's say you have masks up, if you're just kind of closed off, you're safe. You just play it so dang safe. And I think in some way, as I reflect growing up, and given my experiences, I played it safe. It's funny, like professionally, I would take like risks. I mean, I'd say pretty big ones, but and on a relational level, like I just kept it safe, and I would be on the sidelines watching everybody else experience love and fun and joy and all this stuff. And I just was like, oh, I wish that was me. Maybe one day, someday. And I just watch, and dang. Don't worry, I'm still here. I'm just thinking, it touched my heart. You know, I have a lot of compassion for that girl. And given where I'm at now, I'd want to tell her, you can step out, you can be courageous, you can be bold, do what you want to do, say what you want to say, you know, be fun, be creative, make your jokes, dress how you want, do your thing, be yourself, and believe life just becomes more abundant and beautiful. It's not like a safe, boring kind of flatline safe. It's like it gets exciting, and that's actually been my commitment, to continue to be true to myself, which by default is vulnerable, because I believe I'm going to continue to attract abundance and people who love me for me and choose me for me and want to work with me because of who I am. You know, what they see is kind of what they get. And again, with friendships, and even in my romantic relationship, we're always growing and developing, and that's always that risk. You know, who you meet initially is, I would say, hopefully not the same person you are as years go by, because I hope you're improving and growing. But it's also a risk, you know, oh, I thought I wanted to do this when we met, but now I want to do this. Like, are we still compatible? Does our vision still align? And me, again, I believe that if people are meant to be together, friends, business people, lovers, whatever, I believe that they will both grow and evolve and still be on the same playing field. And that's the risk, you know, to continue to evolve and not lose yourself and just be true to who you feel like you are, especially as you're healing and really tapping into who you are. I believe that there's going to be seasons that people change. Who you were friends with at one season during one portion of your healing process probably might not be the same person you're besties with the next season. But the people you do pull through, those are like life twin flames, as people call them. So anyways, I've just been on this journey of vulnerability, sharing my feelings, and not that I don't care what people say, but I don't have to be codependent or people please, or, you know, downplay, dismiss, stuff my feelings and emotions in a way that I don't matter. That is not who I want to be, you know. And the reason my heart got a little emotional when I was thinking of that girl on the sidelines, whether that's me or you. I just hear God saying, hey, daughter, I don't want you to sit on the sidelines and miss out like that. I didn't create you to sit there and watch and wish. I gave this for you. I died and resurrected and gave you life in abundance for you to experience it, not just watch the rest of the world have fun. You matter too. In fact, when I was on that cross and when I was resurrected, I saw your face. I was thinking of you. I did it for you. And I want you to be lavished with love. And so it's no one, I don't want to sound rude, but you're not doing anyone a favor by sitting on the sidelines, not really participating in life, playing it safe. You're not fulfilled. You're longing for something, and if the longing takes too long, hope deferred makes the heart sick, and then people just get angry and resentful and just give up on life. But you're not helping yourself or anyone in life by sitting on those sidelines. And so I remember this concept of vulnerability, someone said, is synonymous to being courageous. Why is that? Because it takes a lot to show you people who you really are, what you think, and not hide and not be controlled by other people's opinions and thoughts and what, let's just say how it is, what culture says, what society says, what church says, what your family says, what the people you've grown up with and known say. And are you going to be rejected? Are you going to be thrown out? Are you going to be ridiculed? Are you going to be canceled? Oh my gosh, who cares? Live your life. Everyone else is doing it. Why can't you do it? Why can't you do it? And you're going to have a lot of peace and enjoyment if you're able to experience again, what you're called to experience, because me doing certain things makes sense for me, whereas for the other person, that's not what God designed them to do, and they'd feel miserable if they tried to, pursue whatever it is that's not meant to be for them. So again, I saw another video, actually kind of relates to what I'm talking about. Someone was explaining how people say, oh, you should compromise in relationships. It's communication and compromise. And she made a good point. I appreciated this point. She said, compromise in itself is not a problem. The problem is when one of the partners or friends or whatever, their emotional needs are dismissed. They have to stuff it. It doesn't matter, and it's not respected. And so the other person's like, oh yeah, we compromised. We wanted to do this, and now we're doing that. And if the other person is feeling neglected or disrespected, or again, just not loved, considered, that's when problems start to happen. And again, resentment and disconnection and all that. And so I just kind of think about, again, in terms of vulnerability, especially if you come from a background. So do some reflection. Do you come from a background where maybe mom or dad or family, culture, church, whatever? If you had to shape your life and be a certain way to experience approval or being connected to certain, community groups, or I don't know, just to even belong or matter, or you get your worth and value from association with that or something. If you are in some ways codependent and can't be codependent maybe to a certain degree and struggle to just be your own identity, then the problem is you will have such a hard time expressing your needs, and in even more severe cases, even identifying and having awareness of what your needs are. I think on a counseling perspective, I've worked with so many clients, and when you grow up with a background where having a need means you're selfish, oh, that's really hard to cancel that out and literally rewire your brain to not connect. Hey, I'm feeling sad, or I need some company today, or I need some space, or, assert a boundary. And if your family's like, well, you're just being selfish, that again, and you're growing up like that, like that's going to take a while for the brain to disconnect that association of expressing a need equals selfish, or whatever else that means in your family. And, expressing a need means you're bossy, or expressing a need means, you think too highly of yourself. I don't know, right? I mean, we all have something. And so, yeah, being vulnerable, sharing your needs and having your boundaries and communicating it. And at the end of the day, it takes faith to believe you will be fine. Who needs to be in your life will stay in your life and respect you and love you. And if they don't want to love and respect you, that's probably not a good match for you in this life. And why do you need to yoke yourself with someone who is mean and disrespectful to you? Yeah, I might be stepping on, pushing buttons, stepping on people's feet, but I get it. Like, family's family, but still. Can I also propose the idea that family is not just, blood and biological? We have something called kingdom spirit family, where everything is literally, in the spirit first before it ever shows and manifests in the natural. And so you expressing your desires, like, hey, I don't feel really safe right now, or hey, like I like I'm feeling pressured or belittled, or I feel like you're I don't know, let me think of something, like you are, maybe you came home from work and this person's upset or tired or hungry or whatever, and then they're just like really projecting or lashing it all out, unloading on you. And you're like, oh, I'm trying to figure out that boundary of how do I listen to you versus, okay, you're kind of being rude to me. You get my point. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I kind of get in my head with like all the things I think about. Like, is it this? Is it that? But anyways, I think with practice, like, things will make sense. And as one of my coaches once told me, whatever relationship you have with yourself, whatever's going on the inside will directly manifest itself on the outside. And so if you don't know how to, let's say, stand up for yourself, or again, have a boundary, or to walk away from people who are unkind, okay? Then the question is, instead of you getting mad that other people are hurting you, you got to ask yourself, why are you hurting yourself? Like, let's say, I remember I used to be friends with people, like a group of people who I just would, looking back now, I get what was going on. At the time, I didn't get it. But I remember, trying to be friends with a group of people who clearly would not pick me. They had their own very close, tight-knit circle, and I just, for whatever reason, didn't match that group. And so I just kind of think back about every time I try to put myself out there, I'd get all hopeful, and then in the moment it was great, and then I'd miss out later on because they're doing their own thing, or I'd feel rejected, or they talk behind my back, or whatever. And then it's like, something was going on within me that I had to get maybe their approval or validation or try harder, just literally like insanity. And so anyways, I just remember instead, like, someone helped me process through, like, instead of you being frustrated with them, so you got to ask yourself, why is Yelena, like, my coach was like, Yelena, you are, upset that they aren't being a good friend to you. But I would ask you, what's going on in you that you're not being a good friend to Yelena? And that's why you keep putting her through those situations where she gets rejected and hurt every time. And I was like, what? That really hit me. Like, you're right. I could complain and point fingers at people for treating me a certain way. But then at the end of the day, it comes down to, why am I putting myself through that situation? We already know what the result is going to be, and it's not going to be different than the other 150 times it happened. And I had to pull myself together and see what's going on. Like, and being mean to yourself and yelling at yourself is not the solution. And so instead, I had to ask myself, why am I lacking showing myself self-love and respect? Because if I truly loved and honored and respected myself the way the second greatest commandment in the Bible says, love others as you love yourself, I would not be putting myself in these situations. So needless to say, I had a lot of reshifting and thinking and figuring out to do. And let me tell you, everybody, ever since I've been putting up some boundaries and, again, showing honor and respect for the vessel that God created, myself, I am experiencing more abundance in all of my life, relationships, friendships, everything included. So, yeah, so just kind of reflecting about this topic of, again, vulnerability. It's anytime you're doing anything new, you have a risk of looking like a fool. Every time you make a mistake, okay, you fall down, what's the worst that's going to happen? Get back up. It all comes down to you just forgiving yourself. And again, like what my coach said, whatever relationship you have with yourself, then you're able to show that and extend that same grace and mercy to yourself and other people. And something else I had to kind of break off of myself was like fear of man, like being controlled by people's opinions. And again, it goes down pretty deeply rooted, where I had to rely on other people to include me, especially being like in a Slavic community where like everyone has a trillion sisters. I had 0. I just had one brother. And, part of my social survival, if I could say, which is important as a young person, psychologically speaking, like, you have to have like a community. And so I was like very dependent on being included. And like, I just remembered, again, just bending myself backward to try to be with people and be remembered and included and invited. And then, yeah. And then even if they treated me badly, like, I could just be like, I'm going to walk away. But then it was like, to who? You're in like middle school. You don't drive. You're going to continue going to Sunday school and everything else they had at church with the same people. Like, you have to be friends with them. But now that I'm an adult, I get to choose and decide who I want to be with. If I have X amount of years given by God on this earth, why would I choose to make myself be with people or experiences or opportunities, personal, professional, whatever, where I don't experience peace and freedom and abundance? Like, why would I punish myself and put myself again in bad situations where I'm hurt and abused or neglected or whatever? I mean, what is it? There's like a term, I don't remember. Is it like, I don't know the term, but where people enjoy being hurt or something? I mean, it's victim, it's abuse in the mind, at least. I don't know. But I think about it like, this is a big issue I see with people. Like, just break it off from people who don't even care about you and do your own thing. And instead of having this scarcity mindset, especially as an adult, where you do have some options and choices and, resources, instead of you choosing things that don't show love and respect, show that love and respect for yourself and move on and believe that there is a good God who wants to bless you with more, with higher. I think it's actually funny, kind of, and humbling funny, that there were people back in the day when I was little and young. I had a small mind, let's say it like that. And I used to think like, oh, there are certain people, they're so strange, until I matured a little bit, like, let's say graduated certain emotional, mental levels. And then I was like, oh wait, never mind, these people are onto something. They have something called freedom, or freedom to be expressive and creative. And now I get it. But people in that orphan spirit, scarcity mindset will never understand it and actually kind of ridicule people who have freedom. So I hope I'm not like all over the place here, but I'm just actually talking out loud and reflecting and figuring out. And, if I'm just being honest, I'm still figuring out. Okay, fine. I have my face out there, pictures of myself, videos. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's like a big thing for me. I'm still figuring out. I'm talking about like things like femininity, and like sometimes I'll talk a little bit about relationships and having girls, like wanting girls to experience their heart's desires and love, and not stand on the sidelines, but actually go out there and experience love. Well, I feel like I am, praise the Lord, experiencing that in my life right now. But there's also a certain level of privacy that I still want to have for myself in my current journey, where I can just explore and experience and kind of honor that. I don't know if I could say private experience other than the people who know me and who are around me. But yeah, there's a level where I want to share that stuff to people. But at the same time, I don't want to be that person that's so public, and I'm living more in the public eye than actually experiencing my own life. I'm so enjoying the season that I'm in. Again, first of all, me with myself as I continue to grow in that maturity and beauty inside and out. But yeah, like, there are so many stories that when the time is right, I believe I will feel like it's right. I'm ready to share things about like relationship stuff. But that's that level. I still have to just kind of honor where I'm at. And if right now I'm still a little bit in a private season of my relationship, then I can talk about it. But if I don't want to go too deep, then I don't owe the world anything. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. And like I said, I want to help girls who are, professionals, amazing, successful. And if they want to experience more abundance in their relationships with people, friends, with themselves, with having a partner that they're able to attract, that they love, hit me up. I will help you. But I'm not gonna, right now, I don't feel like I have to blast everything about my personal life to try to prove to people. Because anytime I'm trying to prove anything, then that's coming from a lack position. And believe me, that is not where I'm at like right now. Thank goodness. So vulnerability, being open, being able to share what you feel and think. Mostly feel for me. Thinking is the easier part. Tapping into my emotion. Like, it's easy to be like, hey, I really wanted to go hang out with these people. Okay, cool. But when you're able to say, dang, like, I felt kind of not included, and that made me feel kind of sad or alone or rejected. And here's why. That's a whole nother level of depth. And I'm not saying the whole world needs to know about this, but if we're talking about friendships, relationships, there are key people who will definitely benefit from hearing you share with them what's going on. And if this person genuinely loves you, then they're going to want to adapt and figure out how to make you feel like meet your needs, help you feel secure and loved, and grow with you. So, and like I said, there's a level of faith and surrender where you express it and you believe God's got it. You're sowing what you need, or you're planting what you need, and then God will help you sow, and he will bring you people and opportunities who love you. So I'm just encouraging you girls out there, love yourself, allow yourself to experience freedom and creativity and flow and fun and beauty, and who cares what people who are unhealed in their orphan spirit, wounded state, scarcity mindset think of you. Because if you, like someone once said it, and it was kind of harsh to hear, but I believe it. If you're afraid of that, like what you fear, you believe, and that becomes your God. Yikes. And so the last thing you want to do is have the God of fear and control dictate your life and make you feel literally like, just hell in the inside of you. You don't want that to be your God. You want the God the Bible talks about, who promises peace and abundance of peace and love and freedom and joy and all these beautiful things. And the Bible already says very clearly who you are through Christ. You're perfect, beautifully woven before you were even here on earth. There's a reason and purpose for you, and it's beautiful. And you are literally divine royalty here on earth, figuring out how to experience your God-like experience here on earth in the abundance that literally Christ experienced. If you believe that and live out of that, then that's your God, and you will literally experience that level of heaven and kingdom on the inside and the outside of you. And so my goal for myself personally and professionally, I'm just speaking for myself right now. It sounds scary, but not scary, but I mean, I understand the process. The healing, growing pains, right? That's a real thing, but the result on the outside, on the end, is amazing. My goal is to continue to disconnect with something that I don't feel like is fully heaven and kingdom and love. Jesus, essentially. And that might sound kind of harsh, but like I said, I'm not here on this planet for forever. We all have an enter date and an exit date. Why would I want to look back and be like, wow, I limited my abundance and freedom in my soul, my spirit, by being enslaved to what orphan-minded people have to say about me? So anyways, ladies, you want to attract a king type man, Jesus type Christ man? Let me tell you, have the courage to tap into your fullest level of feminine freedom and self-love. You don't have to die down or hide anything. You got to believe if God put it in you, then honey, shine it and believe that's going to be the light that brings in some guy for you who actually God already created to be pulled towards that for a reason. I have one little quick story. I used to work with a client who was so amazing, such a beautiful girl inside and out. And one thing she did mention is she had a love for purses, and she was very, very humble girl, but so beautiful. And she was saying like, hey, I don't want to intimidate guys, and I was like, okay, well, next time you're with people, like what can you do to just be in your element and shine and feel so comfortable and free to be yourself? And like, where do you usually hide and tone it back that you don't need to anymore? Because you don't want to attract guys that are, toned back, if I could say it like that. And we started to kind of talk, and somewhere in the conversation, she had mentioned that she really loves beautiful purses. Oh, actually, I remember happened. I was kind of joking around, but sometimes when I'm just flowing in the spirit, word of knowledge comes out. And I was like, I don't know, maybe it's like fancy sunglasses or purses that you love. Like you gotta flaunt it, girl. And she's like, that's funny you say that because I actually love having a couple beautiful expensive purses, and those are just her little guilty pleasures. And she's like, should I just hide that? Because sometimes guys get intimidated, or they're afraid that if they get with a girl like me, that they're going to feel obligated to buy a purse. And I don't want them to feel like that, because that's not really who I am. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You don't even want a guy who's going to make you feel ridiculous for liking a purse. It's not like her, ego and entitlement was super high or anything. It was like, this is something that's beautiful and fun for you, and you got to believe and have faith. Okay, here's the key word. Faith. Trust that God put that little desire in you, because there's a guy out there who has a thing for girls who have cute, beautiful, hot purses on their side. And there's gonna, like what they say, if we're the one guy who doesn't want to do and doesn't value it, there's always another guy who will love to, maybe even has, I would say definitely has the finances and resources to even sustain a girl, like, however the two are meant to be in terms of like equally yoked they are. So I told that girl, you better come in and shine and be yourself, and you don't need to tone yourself down and make yourself into some cookie cut version of herself to be like some other basic girl, like every other safe girl. Sorry, I'm just spitting it out. And you just gotta shine and believe that will be the light. And it's not just the purse, guys, obviously. I'm saying it's the inner state, confidence, fun, freedom, joy, playfulness, being able to just fully come out and be yourself and believe. Again, if we're talking about, let's say, guys or partners, the partner for you will be more than happy to love you, take care of you, protect you, dote on you, adore you, all of that. Please do not hold yourself back. You are not doing yourself a favor, because if you're going to have to like dim your light all the time, that's so dull. But also, again, just be that light that shines and have fun, and let other people use that light to gravitate towards you. Because again, it's not the outside stuff, it's the inside that then flows. It's that spiritual energy that then is literally like a pheromone scent that attracts people to you when you are tapped into that abundance and juicy goodness, if you know what I mean. So anyways, today's topic, vulnerability. My vow is to continue to become more and more confident in myself as a woman, as a female, as someone who, I'll say, beautiful inside and out, sexy, yes, confident, like loving, nurturing, playful, witty, wisdom. Like, I just want to be a queen, and believe that the more I allow myself to be a queen, the more I will attract an audience, the more I can help people, the more I experience fulfillment in my personal, professional life, all of the above. And the more queens we have, because the kingdom talks about it, literally the better, more equipped this world is, and the more God, Jesus, Spirit can flow through all of this. So let me know what your thoughts are about today's episode. Your comments always are so meaningful to me. Please share this podcast with people, subscribe, and I will catch you next week for another episode. There's a guest that I'd like to have. So let's see, this is my third week trying with her. But anyways, God bless you all. Be beautiful. Amen.